It's a statement hat.
It's a ruckus maker hat, right? So that's
all right.
that's
We'll
the
take
point.
it.
I think Gorin Brothers needs to partner with BLBS to do a ruckus maker line, right? then we would know that we're on to something big here. So awesome. Well, great to see you, Mitch, Larry, Brenda. Who's Jack? Is Jack your son?
Oh, it sounded, yeah, Jack's my son. What in the world? I'll have to change that name. Hold on.
That's okay. I was like, wait, I'm
It's a-
pretty sure his name's Larry. I might have been calling him the wrong name this whole time.
No, because we've been texting. Come on now. Hold on.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can change that. There we go. Rename. Yeah, we'll fix it. Yeah, Jack was obviously, I don't know. Who knows who he was Zooming? They haven't done remote instruction in years. I don't know. There we go. How's that?
It's all good.
Now it's me.
And Mitch, I did see your text, so we're good there too. All right. Today's intro question is fun. I think all of them have been fun up until this point. You may see this one online sometimes, and definitely an easy one to use with your faculty or staff, because this is just the world we live in. So, what emoji describes how you are feeling right now? What emoji would you pick?
How do we share it, or do we just say it?
Well, I think that's part of the fun. I mean, I could prescribe that, but this is authentic learning. So I want you to figure out how you want to show it off.
I went away.
I saw yours. So was it the heart, Brenda?
Yeah. And the reason why it's a heart is because I just finished talking with one of my former students. I know, Danny, that you know that I'm finishing up my book.
Yeah.
And I've been interviewing my former students because I want them to put a quote in my book. And so it was just so much fun just finishing up talking with her. So that's why I feel love.
Awesome, Brenda. I'm going to do this. Well, I'll tell a story. This isn't how I'm feeling right now. I'll have to describe this emoji, or I'll have to pick one for how I'm feeling right now. Is that yours, Larry? Okay. Mine is this like crazy, oh my God, what's happening face. Because this is the last, we scheduled this to be the last meeting because I'm supposed to be in England, and it would be an incredible card trick, right? A master of illusion. If I could turn this background in Earls Barton, England, to make it look the same as my office here in Syracuse, New York. But I'm not in England because 2 days before our flight on Friday, I think it was, this is very embarrassing. My wife's like, dude, your passport's expired. I'm like, what? In my stomach, right? Like that rock that just sits in your stomach and you feel like, oh man, now I feel sick. Over the summer or whatever, she even remembers me telling her, babe, this holiday trip would be great, and when we get back, I'm going to renew my passport because it expires in May, right? Yeah, unfortunately, I read it wrong. I thought it was May of 22. It expired May of 21. So yeah, it sucks. But listen, so if anything, if you ever open an email from me, open this Sunday's email, because you'll see the picture of me waving goodbye to my sweet, dear old wifey. And my dog is like leaping out of the car because she took the picture. And I think Alba wanted to go with her on the flight. So that was a longer story. And it doesn't describe how I'm feeling right now, but it describes how I felt in a very important moment just 2 days ago. And I'm going to try to get an expedited passport meeting with the passport office. So I'm keeping an open mind and thinking everything's going to work out, and I can still get there. Just I didn't leave Sunday. So crazy times.
My favorite one, I don't see it as an option. My favorite one is it's an upside down smiley face. And I think it plays well with at the end of every day, it's like, okay, don't take yourself so dang seriously.
Yeah,
So
Yeah.
that's rule number 6 to the T. I couldn't find it in the where you could do it in the squares, but I put it in the chat for you, Mindy. So Larry, you had, I call that like the anxious or like worried kind of face. What was going on
Yeah,
with that
I mean,
one?
I think there's a little bit of like happiness in there as well. You know, the
Okay.
I can't, you know what I mean? Yeah, just it was just a day today. You know, this is like the wind down. It was just a challenge from beginning to end, but somehow we, you know, made it through, and I tried to put it all in perspective, and I think I was able to successfully do it. You know, and but it wasn't a pretty start to the day. We'll leave it at that.
Gotcha.
This post sort of, but not really COVID world that we're living in with children, not the two don't mesh that well.
No. Oh man. Thank you for sharing. We're glad you're here though, even though you had that kind of day.
Que engraçado, ele está muito giro.
Hi, Maria Irene. I don't remember how to say good night. Do you know, Mitch, by any chance? Bom dia is good day. What's good evening?
Yeah, I only know good day.
Okay.
Boa
Maria-
noite.
Boa
Boa
noite.
noite.
Okay, great. You speak Portuguese, Larry?
A very little. So I'm principal of a dual language elementary school. So it's Portuguese immersion. So Irene, I had no idea. So are you in Portugal, Irene?
Yeah,
I'm
Maria
in Portugal and I'm Portuguese. Yeah.
Why don't you
And-
come out of retirement? I am looking for skilled practitioners. You come out of retirement, you come to Massachusetts. It'll be a win-win.
It's a short flight, Maria Irene. It's a short flight.
I retired last year. No, this year in January. I retired in January this year. And I retired in January this year. And well, I like to participate in the meetings. No, what to falar? I like to participate in the meetings. And although I'm retired, I like to keep in touch with what is happening in education. So that's why I'm here.
Oh, we love that you show up. So thank you so much for that. Mitch, did you want to close out the intro? I don't remember if you shared your emoji.
I was looking for one that was either excited or proud. Not so much about my day, but my oldest, who's 12. Right now it's 4:00 in California. And she's meeting with her therapist for the first time, and I'm just really proud of her for being bold enough. She's approached my wife and I over the last probably year, and she struggles with anxiety at times and can really identify it and wants the skills to work with it. And so she was really, really nervous. My wife did a bunch of obviously recon and interviews and found this wonderful lady in San Francisco. But she's meeting Zoom for an hour right now. So I'm just like, heart's coming out of my chest. Like the sooner she can learn her, just herself and how to be healthy. And it's so cool. So yeah, I'm just really proud right now.
Proud dad. All right. Well done, Mitch.
And I'm
Well done.
Portuguese too, but I don't speak Portuguese. Azorian, so I'm not really the real thing. But I gotta grab this call.
You are the real thing, Mitch. All right. What I'd love to bring us to next is just so we're finishing up the belonging chapter and then the challenge chapter and conclusion. And that last chapter is on challenge. So it's interesting. People respond to challenges in all sorts of different ways, right? And so for me, I'm really curious. Tell me about a time where you were challenged and you loved it, right? Just absolutely loved the challenge of it.
Personal or professional, or can that be up to our own discretion?
Totally up to you, Larry. Yeah.
Okay.
Danny, I'm going to say, here's my challenge I had that I faced. So in 2010, my daughter was driving a vehicle I was traveling in, and a semi hit us, and I received the most injuries. So I was lifelined. And so you can't tell by just looking at me right now or how I've been acting, but I have a traumatic brain injury and 13 of my teeth were lost. So I had reconstruction surgery. So I think the challenge that I faced was twofold. And it took me a long time to get past it. It took me 5 years really to kind of accept that I had a brain injury. And I really wanted to get back to work. And so going back to work, I probably went back to work sooner than I probably should have. And I think that I liked it because it kept me going. It kept me with a purpose. And I know that Mitch is taking a phone call. He's not with us, but I'm very proud of his daughter, taking that step too, because it's so hard when you're dealing with that kind of stress and then anxiety and, PTSD is real. And, it's hard because sometimes you don't see it, but you're feeling it. So I took on that challenge and went back to work, and I loved it because it was helping me. But I walked away from it because I knew I needed to walk away from it. So I'm proud, Mitch, of your daughter taking that step, and I'm proud of that challenge that I had to face.
Thank you for sharing that. I can't imagine everything you've been through, but I really appreciate you sharing that, because so much of what we know about people, right? You can only see the face, and in Zoom, you only get the square. And that leaves so much, out of the story. And that just helps us understand you in a little bit more three-dimensional way. So thank you for sharing. Important to remember too. I mean, I'm sure all of you are thinking this, but whatever's going on, staff and students, like sometimes you just don't know, right?
Can I say something?
Yeah, we love that you're here.
Yeah.
Of course you could say something.
Well, the last challenge I had when I was in school was to adapt a story from Ray Bradbury, and have I had my colleague from physics wanted to teach a physics law, and I found a story by Ray Bradbury that was dealing with that physics law, but my principal, so to say, the director of the school, he didn't like people. He didn't like those junctions of English and physics. But me and my colleague, we went ahead with that project, and the students learned the physics law, and at the same time they read the story. So and then they were going to explain the physics law, connecting it with the story. And of course, the principal was like this. because it was not expecting that to work. So it was last year in November that I did that. It was just before I got my retirement.
Wow. You know what I like about that story, Maria Irene, is just how you can teach such important concepts through fiction. Actually, we sometimes forget that. We've read some Lencioni books, and we read The Go-Giver Leader, Bob Berg. Forgetting the second author's name. He was on the podcast too, John something. But I'll have to look it up because that's really John David something, I think. But anyways, I think that's a great way just to learn, right? And I have a business coach, right? Full disclosure, and he really encourages us to read fiction too, because I don't know about you all, but it's just nonfiction, always learning, trying to grow, and that kind of thing. So just a great way to dream and be creative, and a lot of good ideas come out of that. So thanks, Maria Irene, for sharing that. John David Mann. I was one word away. He's a great author too. And if you ever listen to his podcast he did with me, as a high school student, he created his own school. Him and a handful of students, along with some adults, built the school from the ground up and created something that was never there before, which is amazing. Anybody else want to weigh in on challenge that was meaningful to them?
Sure. So I went with the physical. It's funny. I was listening to Brenda share her story, and then I thought of one of my health things, and I'm like, no, you know what? I'm going to go with something else. 2002, I ran, and maybe it's my one and only, we'll have to wait and see, the Boston Marathon. So I grew up around here, and it was sort of like always like one of those things I'd love to be able to do. And obviously 9/11 had happened in 2001. And in order to do it, I'm not a good enough runner to qualify for it. So you have to run for a charity. It was the one and only year that the American Red Cross had a team. And I was on the team, and we trained together in Cambridge on, like MIT's facilities on Thursday nights. And, we went out, and there was this huge camaraderie. And I didn't realize at the time, I was like, 32-year-old, and I didn't realize, hey, if you break 4 hours in a marathon, that's pretty damn good. And I wound up doing it in 3:55. And it was like it's one of those things that, like, you do it, and no one can discount it or take it away. It's like your own personal challenge. You set a goal, and it was just, I just remember like crossing that finish line. It was just this feeling of just complete exuberance and saying, wow, like, look at what I did. It's kind of a good reminder. I think just talking about it, you think, especially when I started today thinking about some of the challenges that I'm currently facing in my school, thinking, if you do that physical challenge, you can probably get over the kindergartner who's having tantrums on a regular basis. But just a great time and some good camaraderie there as well.
Well done, Larry. So that 3:55 time you posted is a full hour, an hour and a half faster than my first two marathons. I got injured for the third. So that is quite impressive. I was going to pick the marathon as well. When I'm hanging out with Mitch, that'll inspire you to go out and run, number one. So we got to hang out a bit in New Mexico at my live event. But it reminded me of a time when I ran the marathon. It wasn't because I wanted to run, because I don't really like it that much. I've learned to love it because you clear your head and you get the physical rush of it all. But I was really interested in doing it with high school students. There was a charity we ran with called Team World Vision, and they do clean water projects around the world for kids. And I asked the leaders of that Chicago chapter, hey, have high school students ever done this with you, or is it just adults? They're like, no high school kids. Well, I'm like, until now, right? And so I went to every freshman, sophomore, and junior homeroom advisory and said, who needs service learning hours, and who here has ever saved somebody's life, right? Because of clean water. And so the kids wanted to graduate and they wanted to save lives. They didn't put two and two together how far 26.2 miles is, and they soon figured that out. But 80 something kids ended up finishing the entire marathon, and we raised over 2 years $25,000 for these water projects. So now if I could just learn how to be fast like Larry, that would be the trifecta for sure.
I was a kid. I was a mere 32 years of age. At 51, almost 52, I can't do it now, but we'll see. I still run, though. Still run. I know Mitch, though. I see what Mitch has got the hat, and I think he just came back from a run. I don't know.
Yeah, he definitely loves to run. Mitch is a crazy enough guy. He won't let you off the hook, Larry, because Mitch is, I don't think he'll mind me sharing this, but he's turning 50. And so he's going to do a 50-mile race to commemorate the 50th birthday. So yeah, physical challenges are really cool. Last thing I'll say, and then I got to be quiet, but to see the kids cross the finish line, oh my gosh. Because Larry, what you were saying, I can do anything now. Every one of them said that. And that just turned me into a complete wreck. Because I was seeing these kids saying that to me, and I was just like, oh my gosh. All right. Any other challenges that people want to share? And Amy, I think you hopped in. And so we were just discussing, have there been any meaningful challenges in your life that you'd love to share?
I just finished, it wasn't really a challenge. Maybe I didn't get to hear everyone's story, but I finished a course where it was about mental fitness, or maybe mental health awareness. And it was kind of challenging to go through the whole course because, first of all, on Zoom, 3 hours straight for 8 weeks. And it was to support families, caregivers, anyone that would be involved with someone who might have a mental health challenge. And that was challenging as a mom who has a kid, a son that has mental health challenges. But I was committed to it. But every week I was like, oh my gosh, 3 hours on Zoom. How am I going to deal? So I learned a ton and, committed all the way through, and was happy with the information that I received, hopeful that it would be the magic solution to my son's challenges, and challenged by the reality of having different challenges from my son. I don't know if that makes sense. So that was kind of tricky. But it was tricky also to be on Zoom for 3 hours, sharing and learning such personal stories. So sorry, I don't know where everyone went. It might have been like the marathon and I'm not sure where everyone went, but that's what I'm sharing.
I appreciate that. There were some very personal things shared as well. So thank you for leaning into that, not knowing that as well. Mindy, did you want to share anything before we move on?
Sure, I'll tell just a real quick story that's related to how much I know now that I didn't know before about how much I can learn from kids, working with kids. This has happened not at the school that I'm at leading now, but at my former school that I was at for 20 years. And early on in the early 2000s, one of the programs that this school had is a very large outdoor experience program for kids. And in my second year there, this is 2003, I think, the head of the program, the outdoor program, invited me on a school trip, an outdoor trip. And I'm in the Pacific Northwest. So, and I'm actually a Californian, so I like warm weather, but I love the Pacific Northwest too. And I hadn't done a whole lot of outdooring. I have always been an athlete and love to jog. I would not call my jogging running. I would call it jogging. But this experience was up in Southeast Alaska, and it was a 30-day kayaking trip with 35 teenagers. And there were 10 of us, 10 adults. And I had never done anything like this before. And so I went through a bunch of training, went through wilderness first aid training and responder training, and sat in a boat and flipped the boat and got back in the boat, et cetera. I did all that. Anyhow, the first day when we were going to get into the water, we got up at 3 a.m. to get an early start. It was raining, and to get into the boat, I ended up stepping in the water. I had extra tufts on, so I had high boots on, and I could feel the water just seeping into the boots. And I climbed into the boat, kind of tried to shake out my boots, and moved forward 30 days. It was still raining. I was wet from that moment the entire time. And the great thing is that we laughed. We paddled over 350 miles. And the kids were a gift because they kept the old folks going. And we needed to think about them and not think about ourselves. And I learned so much, not only about myself, but about how resilient kids can be in interesting circumstances. So I did that trip 3 more times. And one of them was actually sunny. So it was good. It's a beautiful area. If you've never traversed up north here, it's pretty spectacular.
Did you make it as far as did you go up into BC?
We did. That first year we started south of Petersburg and paddled south and then west and then north into the Frederick Sound, and then did a couple offshoots from there. Saw the glaciers that are there, and it was really beautiful. The second trip was out of Juneau, and we did all the way down Admiralty Island, hoping to see bear. Unfortunately, that was the hot year. It was 80 plus degrees every day, and bears don't really like that. So we didn't see as many bears as we wanted, but just a beautiful
You were
area.
in Alaska.
Yeah.
Okay. You said you're Pacific Northwest. I had
Oh.
BC in mind, so you were way up there. Awesome.
Yeah, we were way up there. Yeah.
What they say, the joke about how to survive if a bear's around, you don't have to outrun the bear, you just have to outrun who's next to you. So that's another important reason to keep training, right? Life and death. Cool. All right. Well, in terms of the challenge chapter and the conclusion, I have a couple questions I can throw out there. But this is our last meeting. And so I'd love, if there is something important that's on your heart or mind that you want to bring to the group, I want to make space to discuss that. So, you know me, I love silence. I'm just going to sit here and wait. And if you have something to offer the group, please do. Of course.
Yeah. Well, I like this question on chapter 5. One of the questions you asked was, what was the last book you read outside of education that made you better? I like that question. And I think that it's very interesting that you, in your mastermind, make people read books out of education, because that opens their minds, and it also helps them to understand education Do you understand what I mean? It helps them to understand and to have another vision, not confining it just to school and all that, because the human being is a whole, and so we have separate parts of ourselves that we must develop. And I think that's a very important question, and it's very important that you do that.
Yeah,
Okay.
great, Maria Irene. Thank you. And so we kind of talked about books and fiction, didn't we? A couple of times ago, but this is a bit of a different question. What's a book you've read recently? I don't even remember my own question, but that really impacted your thinking outside of education.
I listened to your last session. You guys did talk a lot about fiction books. And so I thought it was a great thing. So you guys brought up a lot of different ideas. And I also like the questions that you have on page 192, where leaders ask great questions. I think that's a great list that you have there.
Oh yeah, because I call them coachly questions, which I get from Alt MBA lingo, which is a space where I coach and play from time to time. So those are good. I will. Oh, this isn't a fiction book, but it is outside of education. Mitch will recognize it. We're reading this. I have a mastermind that's focused on what I call edupreneurs, so business leaders in the education space. But look at this. Doesn't this look like some 90s crazy colors that like we used to wear and that kind of stuff? So this book is from the 90s. And what I'm trying to do, I got to see the date, 94. Feels like 94. But I'm trying to encourage people to go back to the basics and fundamentals, which is funny because, in some respects, I have books that are coming out today, right? So why read me when people 30 years ago have still bestsellers that influence? But my point is there's books that have stood the test of time. One of my mentors and biggest people that have had an impact in my life is Seth Godin, and Tom Peters was somebody who really impacted Seth. So I pay attention to that stuff, right? People you admire and they say, here's who taught me to think this way. And I just go up sort of the family tree. The last thing I'll say about this book and why it's so impactful, I just started a chapter on productivity, and it's called Getting Things Done, right? Getting things done. And so you think there's going to be some things that maybe I might teach, right? The importance of showing your work in public or telling people your goals and then keeping score, right? All that kind of stuff works. And the interesting thing is that the author talks about relationships, and really appreciating people and building powerful networks to help lift you up. And that was just an interesting take because I didn't see that coming under the concept of productivity. So at least to answer Maria Irene's question, this is the last one I've been reading. I'm currently reading it.
I've been reading this book. It's called How the Way We Can Talk. Sorry, How the Way We Talk Can Change the Way We Work by Robert Keegan and Lisa Leahy, The 7 Languages for Transformation. I can't remember who recommended this to me. I think it was a former head of school that I was working with. But it's not directly related to education per se. It's just more if you kind of change your mindset on how you frame, how you speak, not only to yourself, but to other people, that can really change an entire environment or culture.
Thanks for sharing that, Mindy.
A book that I absolutely loved that I read for yoga school training was called How Yoga Works. And it takes the Yoga Sutras, which is like the philosophical Bible-ish of yoga, and tells it through story. Because the Yoga Sutras for me were very tricky to understand because each word is chosen very carefully, and then you have to interpret it so deeply. And the one part that always stands out to me the most is where in the story the student is trying to reach their toes in a forward fold, and the teacher says, you know, just put some reams of paper and see, you know, to how far forward you can fold. And then every day remove one sheet of paper and eventually you'll get there. And I don't know why, but that just spoke to me so deeply, because just visualizing that in my head and thinking like every day you just have to do that much and then eventually you'll get there. I just love that book so much. It was filled with moments where I wanted to throw it against the wall because it was so, you know, just messing with my mind and things that I didn't want to know about society, to like holding it so tight. Like I have to buy this book for everyone. They need to know the story. It was a really great learning tool for me.
Thanks, Amy.
You have a quote in the book too from Walt Disney. I think I'm not currently reading it. I read a long time ago, but there's a book that's called Dream, Dare, Do, Believe. It's his philosophy to business. And I applied that to school. And in fact, my student I was talking to, that's the thing that she remembers the most is those words. And so that's really funny. But I use that as a theme. And I think that, you know, I learned a lot from reading that book, and it's a business book, but it applies to what you do in school as well. I read a lot of, this is my book from Brene Brown, and I have Jodi Picoult, and the best book that you want to read that is just funny and it just is you don't have to think at all is Janet Ivanovich. She's like my favorite. You don't have to think or anything. You laugh because it's just so crazy because she's a bounty hunter and it's fun. It makes you laugh. That's a great one too. So, but check out the Walt Disney book. I think it's cool.
Thanks, Brenda. I read, I think Walter Isaacson maybe did a biography about him, or I listened to one of those. Fascinating. So I bet it was a great book.
Annie, did you ask what we're reading that's fiction? What was the
Yeah,
question?
Maria Irene brought that one up because it was a question I asked in the end of chapter 5. So if you wanted to chime in, feel free.
Was it in this? Were we talking about that last week too?
We were talking about books last week as well. Yeah. My sort of question, since we have been talking about books, and I'm big. I don't know how you necessarily experience me, but I like to think that I take a lot of action, and so one of the questions at the end of 214 is, what holds you back from taking action on big ideas, and how can you move past those upper limit challenges? I think I have the opposite problem in the sense that I move so fast. Sometimes I break things. Oh no, not sometimes. I will break things, and then I have to figure that part out because I move so quickly.
I can get trapped in not in working hard, but figuring out, or maybe getting obsessed with the right direction or path to solve or accomplish something. And that's come from maybe it's breaking things like you're saying, Danny, or just looking back over a ton of work, or maybe a financial investment if it's with my company and stuff, and you're scratching your head on the backside. Again, I'm not a school leader, but like, wow, that was a lot of effort and energy, and kind of waiting for someone to say like, no, go do it this way. And I don't think that necessarily exists. It certainly probably doesn't exist well for a school leader. And that what tied in for me, like, I love this isn't just because I love the Matrix, and potentially there's a new one coming out. I might have read something somewhere. Can't wait if that's the truth. The red pill, blue pill thing. But the point of just finding clarity within community that you trust, where you could come to a group like even this and just say, okay, before I put the next 10 months in motion, or maybe better said, like throughout the 10 months, I have people that aren't in my community that I'm serving, but that I trust enough to be vulnerable with. Yeah. So anyway, I'm mashing a bunch of stuff up. Sorry, I missed the first part of the call to everybody. I had to take a call, but yeah, just wanting clarity on where to execute. And then if I felt like I knew, it'd be like, I'm all in. And I don't know if you can do that without community.
Certainly hard to do on your own. Go ahead, Maria Irene.
Well, I think community is very important because sometimes you have those ideas, but if you don't have a kind of cocoon, the community is kind of cocoon to support you. If you find obstacles, then you give up. And it's very important to have a group of people whom you trust, so that you can go on with your idea. So, for instance, what you have here in the Mastermind is, I think it's very good for you, because you have a kind of cocoon, so to say, with people that sometimes they may disagree with you, but in the whole, you build up a community, and that gives you strength, and you can be yourself in something like that. You don't have any barriers. You can kind of open your mind and kind of open your soul, and then you feel, well, I can go on with my project because those people trust me, and if they trust me, then I have to trust myself, because I was kind of approved by those people, so they believe in my idea, so I have to believe in my idea too. Sorry, I'm sorry I took so much time, but
no,
I
that was
wanted
great. I love the metaphor, the cocoon, and then picking yourself is huge. I remember when I first started this thing, there's a guy named James Altucher. I don't know if you ever came across his work. He does all sorts. He's into everything. Okay. But he wrote a book called Choose Yourself, which is essentially what Maria Irene is talking about. And after reading that book, it was like I was riding lightning, or however you want to describe it. There was no way of stopping me, right? Because I'm like, I'm going to pick myself. I'm putting it out there. We'll let the world decide what happens, but at least I'm going to pick myself first.
Danny, can you say the original question? I don't with the Kindle version. I got to go way into the book.
Oh yeah. Of course. I was asking, what holds you back from taking action on big ideas? How can you move past those upper limit challenges?
So I think, as I think about the day-to-day running, bearings of a school, and if I'm being authentic and realistic, it's fear of failure, right? It's, well, this seemed like a good idea, Larry. Now go do it. You see what happens, and if it works out, you're a hero. If it doesn't work out, you're sort of, you're on the other end of that spectrum, and it's almost like I feel, in my mind, in my current position, like, you're only as good as your last decision, whatever that means. I mean, it's, you're not, like, people could praise you one day and then the next day, one of my colleagues puts it this way: they like you till they don't like you. And it's like, it's like being being an actor in a show, right? Like, you're only as good as your last review, perhaps. But I think it is that, Brenda, you're buying what I'm selling. No, I mean, but it's real, right? Like, I do think that there is that fear of failure, and I think overcoming it comes with time. Like, I've been doing this, and we'll call it game. I've been doing this education business, if you want to call it that, for long enough that, and I wasn't like this. So I'm my fourth year of this principalship. I was 5 years as an assistant before this, but you make enough decisions, and you make enough where you say, that one didn't work out, but look, like, you live to tell the story, and life goes on, and you make another one. So a lot of it just comes from experience in doing it. And then, so what if it doesn't work out? Like, as long as, if your kids are still safe at the end of the day, as an educational leader, then that's okay. Like, everything else is secondary. And if your scores didn't rise, if it's accountability, it's, hopefully it's not the end of the world. But so it's a little bit of everything. I'm sorry, I went to Chicago by way of Tallahassee tonight, but that's how I feel about it. It's that fear of failure. Hey, it might not work out, and you're just going to get past that, and sort of remind yourself of other decisions you made that either that little nagging self-doubt that you didn't think were going to work out, that worked out better than anticipated, and then take it from there.
Thank you, Larry. All right. Well, are there any other sort of quotes that impacted you, or things that you want to hear from this group? Because again, this is the final hurrah get together that we're going to have. And I do want to create a little bit of space to see what the number one insight was for you. Could be from tonight or from the whole experience. And this might be a good place for me to say too, just from the bottom of my heart, thank you for showing up consistently and digging in. To read this book and discuss it with you has really been an honor. So thank you so much.
Danny, I'm going to do a review for you on 2 places, Amazon and on Goodreads, because I do that for a couple of different companies. Just kind of, I'm considered a book influencer for some reason. That's the title I have.
Whoa, how about that?
I don't know how that came about, but I don't know. That's my little free title I have with Weaving Influence. So I'll go on and do that. So I'll do that either tonight or in the morning. So I do want to tell you that I will do that. And I've read this through twice. So I've made some notes to make sure I highlight the right things. And Larry, I'm in education, I'm retired. So send me some emails so that we can stay connected, and anybody else, stay connected with me, so that I've enjoyed meeting every single one of you. So I would love to stay connected. It's been a great time getting to do this with everybody. I didn't get to consistently stay involved on every single session. I would email Danny and say why I couldn't come, but anyway, it's, life happens sometimes. But thank you. It's been really great.
You bet, Brenda. And I'll remind you too, you know, I'm terrible at knowing everybody that's in the group, but probably the easiest, fastest way to connect would just to be inside the free Facebook group. It used to be called Mastermind Book Club. I changed the name today to Ruckus Maker Nation. And I hope to invite the right kind of school leaders, you know, into the group as well, past the book club and other people that have been involved in there. But thank you, Brenda. Total oversight and blind spot. I didn't even consider saying, hey guys, if you can find 5 minutes to write a review, please do that. So Brenda, you saved me there. And if anybody else can find some time, that would be really, really meaningful to me as well.
I'll jump in and just say, just echoing Brenda's sentiments. Danny's a friend of mine, a very dear and close friend of mine. And so I really wanted to show up initially just to support him and be here. And I was like, this is a crazy idea, like a book club with a bunch of people you don't know. So it's going to be, maybe it's just going to be Danny and I, but I'll be there, you know? And I've just loved these love these conversations and see it like, for me, it's kind of the end of the day on a Monday, and it's something to look forward to where there's no prep, there's no pressure. It's just engaging with really interesting educators from all over the world, as it turns out. So I just want to echo all that. I'm was pretty bummed to see this be the last one. I saw that in the email today. I was like, oh yeah. So thank you, everybody.
That's when you know it's good, just like the live event. You want another one versus the opposite, where it's like, when's this stupid book club over?
I would have shown up every week, even if that was the case, but that's not the case. Just kidding.
I also like to be here. Thanks very much for having me. I'm retired now, but I still keep in touch with my colleagues. I try to, I look on the net for things for them to do with their classes, because I like to be active. I sing in a choir, and I've just come from my choir rehearsal every Monday and Thursday. And we have next Saturday, we're going to have a show. So, and this has been fun, and it's been very good. I just love to be here and getting to know those people and getting ideas from you. So thank you for having me. And thanks, Danny, for letting me be here.
Of course. We loved hosting you.
At the risk of sounding like the Mutual Admiration Society, I too have truly enjoyed being here. You know, a guy back here who I know you know, Danny, Chris Jones. I met him over the summer. Dr. Jones. We met over the summer at a state conference, and he walked into a session I was leading that was sort of the small but mighty group of people, because there was a competing one that I knew had some A-listers, and I'm like, no, I can compete. And he was intrigued enough, and he came in, and we were talking afterwards. He's like, yeah, so I do this thing called Mastermind. Hey, do you want to be on my podcast? And one thing led to another. And I'm like, I saw this in the book group, and I said, let me give it a try. And I've thoroughly enjoyed being here. I know I've missed a few here and there, and just want to say thank you, because it's been good. It's a you know, it's nice to have a place where you can be authentic and share ideas. And it was my Bostonian coming out there, and perspective in a non-judgmental atmosphere after a long day. So thank you.
It's our pleasure, Larry. Thank you very much. That's great to know the Chris connection. And there's a Larry from the Mass State Association that emailed me today too. They're just reaching out, trying to plan summer keynote speakers. So we'll see if it works out or not. I reached out, followed up, but that'd be pretty neat. And maybe we could hang out in person as well. So, and I will.
Well, and you let me know if you're gonna. You're coming, right? Are you coming to Mass next week? Or 2 weeks?
Yeah, I hope to. Before
reach out
my
then.
trip, I will.
Okay.
For sure. And I will say, so if you have enjoyed this experience, and Mitch can testify to this, easily the mastermind's 10 times better, right? If you're able to join the real deal. Yeah, that's all I'll say. And anybody that's interested, feel free to reach out and we can talk deeper and dive into that. Okay. Anybody else want to share a last insight, last hurrah before we head off?
I did have a kind of a pipe dream fantasy that this would become its own mastermind, but I'm not sure it makes any sense because we're pretty eclectic. But I will echo that it's strangely cool. So
one thing I'm pretty sure everybody should know how to get a hold of me. I can't tell you what the surprise is, okay? But if you want to receive something in the mail every month, okay, I just need to know your best mailing address, and it will be totally free. So you don't have to pay anything to get this cool thing. It's a project that I've been working on. In full disclosure, the point is to level up the mastermind member experience. So, but there's people, what I would say, interested or curious or connected at some level, you know, and you all read the book. So you absolutely fall into that category. So the thing that I'll be sending members, if you want that as well, I just need to know your best mailing address, and feel free to send me an email on that, and I'll make sure you get the surprise. Last call for your number one insight, and then we're going to go. I'm sure you've heard Alba barking this whole time. My wife, even though she's in the UK, she's sending me posts about neighborhood groups where there's, like, I guess, a bunch of porch pirates. They say they even see them driving up and grabbing the packages off of people's porches, which is so sad. So I wonder if there's thieves in our midst tonight, because she's been going crazy. And Brenda and Larry, I got your addresses. Thanks. All right. Well, we're getting close to time here. I already said thanks, but just again, one more big, generous thank you from the bottom of my heart. Again, if you, sorry, let me get that from the messages. If you can find time to leave a review, that'd be so meaningful to me. And then extra credit, nobody's going to give it to you. So it's just like extra credit, like in the karma sense. But if you know a leader, right, that's connected to education, that needs to hear the message in this book, maybe consider grabbing it for like a good holiday gift. It's a good read, right? So Brenda's read it twice. Does it get worse or better?
No, it just, it's great.
Okay, that's funny. Awesome. All right. Well, I think that's a good way to end on a hearty laugh like that. And thank you so much for spending time with me. And we'll catch you again some other time. Bye for now.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Cheers.
thanks, everybody.